Welcome back to another session of Young and Dynamic. I'm quite excited to have everybody here. Tell a friend to connect. Everybody go to your WhatsApp groups. Bring a friend to today's event. It's going to be the best you will ever have. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. Right. So today we are continuing on with our high performance, high productivity session that we've been having for the past weeks. And we have a special guest for you. However, before we move on to that part, I will be asking our prayer leader to pray for us. We always want to begin our session with God, in the beginning, God. So I will be asking Pastor M. Sharima to commence with our higher life, with our young and dynamic event for today, and he dedicates this day to God. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, David, and to everyone who's on the platform, welcome. Just as a word of encouragement, tell your friend to tell your friend that we have started. I'm glad that we have 70 gadgets connected, which is translating close to 200 people connected, because I know you guys connect in groups, but let that group that isn't connected to connect, because we have started and we are on our way. So I'll go ahead and open in a word of prayer as you text your friends and your friends' friends to connect. Let's go ahead and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful moment in time that you have given us to come together to learn life skills, to learn leadership, to learn how we can be efficient and effective in our day-to-day lives as individuals at personal leadership level and at community level leadership, to be able to impact the communities and bring the transformation and development we need as we contribute to the development of our nation, to the development of our continent, and to the development of the world at large. We pray that you open our ears and our heart to hear from the guest today as she leads us and guides us. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Thank you, and over to you, David.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor. So for now, I'll be giving you our ground rules again. Welcome back to Young and Dynamic. We've been here for so long. So please turn on your video, just be a part of the event. We would love to see your faces. We would love to see where you are. And kindly mute your audio, because we do want to keep the spotlight to the person who's presenting. And yes, please W's in the chat, fire emojis in the chat. It's going to be a great event. So I mentioned that we have a guest, and I'll be introducing her right now. Pardon me, ma'am, if I butcher the pronunciation. I'll try my best. Her name is Monal Bharrati, and she is the managing director at Canopy Nepal, and she's from Nepal. She will be taking us through the next session of high performance, high productivity, in particular your attitude and how it will affect your performance. So please listen to her. It's going to be an amazing, amazing session. Turn on your videos again. For those of you who are going to be maybe walking out of the room, if you have your video on, kindly just turn it off, because some things we don't want to see, things that you don't want us to see. And yes, but if you are there, I see Tuto, you look beautiful. Yes, encourage the other people as well to just turn on their videos, type in the fire emojis in the chat. And over to you, ma'am, Ma'am Bharrati.
Thank you so much, David, for that lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing? I know everyone's typing in the chat. Where are you all joining in from today? If I can just know your countries, that'd be amazing. And as you do that, I do want to say that today's session is going to be quite interactive. So if you have the resources, I would love for you to please have a paper and a pen or a pencil with you, because I don't want to just sit here and talk about my journey and talk about how we can do, but rather exercise and activity together so we can learn something at the end of it. So I see Tuto with a pen, which is amazing. If anyone else can also turn on their videos, that would be great. I also see gift. And always we have the chat for us to interact. So I am hoping that everyone has got their stationery. Once again, hello, namaste. That's how we say hello in Nepal. My name is Monal, and like David introduced, I am the director at Canopy. But before that, I want to go back a couple of years and talk about how I am in this Zoom room with all of you. I was born and raised in Kathmandu, which is the capital city of Nepal. For those of you who don't know, Nepal is based in South Asia. We're right between India and China. And we're a landlocked country, which is quite small. We have 7 different regions. We have mountains, we have hills, and we have flatlands. So we have a very diverse geographic area. And I grew up in the city, which is a valley. So I grew up with hills and mountains around me. And ever since I was a child, I had the privilege to study in a private school in Nepal. And the thing about studying in a private school was that I used to get a lot of holidays, and no one was there at my home to take care of me during these holidays. So my grandmother, who used to teach in a government school, used to take me with her. And she'd be like, you know what, just come with me. I will put you in a grade, in a nursery class where students are like age 3 to 5, and you can just interact with them. And this was when I was in grade 6, which is when I was 12 years old. I used to go and I used to teach them drawing. I used to go to the whiteboard and just draw and help them around it. This continued as I went till grade 10, and I used to teach them even more complicated things. I used to teach them English. So in Nepal, a indicator of being educated is knowing how to speak English, which is not a fair indication, but that is what is considered. So my grandmother was like, you know what? Since you study in a private school, you should teach these kids how to speak in English. So I used to teach them language, I used to teach them alphabets. And I don't know if you guys can relate, but that's a very big thing in like South Asian countries. I don't know what it is in the regions that you come from. So I used to do that. And once I joined my high school, I studied psychology, economics, and sociology. So very community related subjects. And as I was doing this, I found this calling that I wanted to work with kids. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to be in a school or if I wanted to be in an orphanage or a hospital, but I just knew that I wanted to be around kids. And this was primarily because, one, my grandmother was a government school teacher, and she was the first woman in my family to work and earn and be independent. She was the first woman in my family to give us money and be like, you know what, go have chocolate. So it was so empowering to see someone be around kids and be empowered. And the second was because I had been going to that school for such a long time, I was like, you know what, I enjoy being with students. So let me try to do something around that. That is when I came across the organization that I'm leading right now called Canopy Nepal. So there used to be this innovation and education fair that used to happen. And Canopy was one of the presenters. I went there, unfortunately, because I was young, I was 17 when I went there, I reached late. So they were not there. And once I was done with my high school, I looked up the website and I decided to call the number. Bold move of me, but I was like, you know what? I'm determined to work with this organization. Let me just give them a call. A person picks up and they're like, hi, nice to meet you. What did you want to know? I'm like, oh, I would love to volunteer with your organization. And it tells me, you know what, just send us over your resume. And I'm like, no, before I do that, I want to come and meet you. And it's like, no, just send us over your resume. And this 17-year-old myself, I was like, no, I want to come meet you in the office. So he finally gave in and it was like, fine, you know what, come to the office, come this day, this time. So I went. Turns out I was talking to the founder of the organization. So he sat me down and he was like, okay, what do you want to learn? And then I was like, okay, so I saw your website. I saw that you go and teach students creativity and critical thinking in schools. I've been doing so and so for the last years. I'm also an elder sister in my family. So I've also always helped my younger sisters and brothers with their homework and with their assignments. So I was like, you know what, I think I can do that. And it was like, okay, like just like talking to you, it feels like you are able to do it. However, we would still need to see that resume. Here's our program coordinator's email, send them an email. I did so. And let me tell you, my resume only had one thing: Model United Nations. I don't know how many of you here did Model United Nations. If you did, just send an emoji so I know. But it was such a big deal when I was in school. I had done like 15 Model United Nations, nothing more than that. Apparently, that was quite impressive for them. So they were like, you know what, come over for an interview. And I did. And they liked my work. So you were like, okay, you're in. At this time, I was debating if I wanted to stay in Nepal and do my undergraduate or go abroad and do my bachelor's. And one thing that I want to say is Nepal has a very big migration trend where everyone from the rural areas come to the urban areas. Everyone from the urban area goes abroad. So because I grew up in an urban area, my typical route would have been I go abroad for my bachelor's, I earn so and so. And everyone from rural comes to the city area. So our villages are empty. It only has older people or younger kids. All the youth are either in the capital or the skilled ones are all abroad. Once I started working with the organization, I was like, you know what, let me just stay here. Let me stay in Nepal and work with these children. So I decided to pursue a bachelor's of social science from Kathmandu University, which is a university based out of the capital city. And as much as it was difficult and as much as the fact that everyone around me was going abroad and I decided to stay back, I don't regret that. I don't regret that decision 8 years later. So I joined as a volunteer. I went to these schools. I started connecting with these students in government school. I started teaching them. And I realized the importance of education. So let me take a step back and talk about what Canopy does and how we started. So I mentioned that we have a very rapid migration in Nepal, right? So what happens is when these communities from rural areas migrate to urban areas, they don't realize how expensive living is. And the first thing that they compromise on is their child's education. Instead of sending their students to school, they take them out of school and they take them to work with them. So for young girls, they go with their mothers to rich people's houses to clean, to cook. If their daughter goes with them, they can cover 3 houses instead of one. They earn extra. For young boys, they go with their fathers to do labor work. They carry bricks, they carry all the unsafe things, but that means that they can do double the work. So it means they can earn more. So now for these families, more than education, they prioritize on getting a living, which makes sense because they're now moving from a rural setting where living was cheap to now an urban setting where living is expensive. And to make matters worse, Nepal has a dropout rate of 73%. So when 100 students join in grade 1, only 27 of them graduate from grade 12. The rest of them drop out. And the reasons are multiple, one being the cost of education. Although government school has to be free of cost, it is not. And that's a whole systemic issue that we have. But because of that, these parents aren't able to pay their bills, so they take their children to go and work. The second being the quality of education. The quality is so rote learning focused. It is so one child focused that the students, if the parent tells them, you know what, don't go to the school, come work with me, they would rather go work than stay in school because schools aren't built for children. And those are the two problems that Canopy is solving. So what we do is, one, we make education affordable to these families, and two, we improve the quality of education so students stay in school. And the way that we do this is for the cost of going to these schools, we identify children from families who are at the most risk of dropping out. And the way that we do this is together with the local government, because without local government involvement, a nonprofit cannot work well and cannot sustain well. And not just a nonprofit, any private organization, any entity that is doing good for the society, for sustainable long-term impact, you have to work together with the government. So we work with the government to identify these families, support these children from grade 6 up until employment. So I'm very happy to say that all the students that we support, 100% of them graduate with an employment. These children who came from families where they earned wages for every hour that they work, now they earn monthly income. They get health insurance, they get lunch, they get paid time off. They've never seen that in their life before. So now they come out of that generational poverty cycle. Second, for the quality of education, what we do is we have this curriculum called Katha Buno, which literally translates to weaving stories in English. What we do through this is we use stories as a way to help students be creative, be critical, teach them how to think, how to be expressive, how to ask questions. And our education system does not allow us to do that. Let me tell you a story. A student in one government school got scolded by the teacher because they asked a question. The teacher was like, "Why are you being oversmart and asking me a question?" Imagine a classroom where students aren't allowed to ask a question. Obviously, students wouldn't want to stay there. So we created a curriculum where students can be children, where they can ask, where they can explore, where they can be creative. So that is what Canopy does. Through our scholarship program and through our storytelling program, we're reducing this dropout rate of students. Our vision is to see that those 73% of students who drop out, we want that number to be 0%. We want the graduation rate to be 100% with skills to get an employment so that these families, these children can break out of their generational poverty cycle. As I was doing my work in Canopy, it's been 8 years. And let me tell you, the position that I'm in and the impact that we've been able to create, it took 10 years. For me, it took 8 years. So if you're young and if you're thinking you have this vision, or if you're someone who's not even young, but have this vision, I think what's important for us to remember is that consistency matters. Putting in the effort every day matters. You don't have to put in 100% every day. You can put in 1% one day, 10% the other, 100% one day, 300% one day, but it's just important that you keep showing up for the work that you do and the impact that you create. Because I was able to be persistent and consistent, I was first recognized for the work that I did in 2024. I started working in 2018. 2024, I got my first global recognition for the work that I did through this organization called Global Citizen. I am seeing in the chat that many of you are based out of Africa. Global Citizen does a lot of work in Africa. So if you are a young person, if you have an organization, I want you to write this name down, look them up, apply to their grants, to their programs, because they have a very big focus in Africa overall, in multiple parts of the region. They have a few countries that they prioritize in, but overall they prioritize the region. Through Global Citizen, I was able to fly to Australia from Nepal, receive an award, and be one of the 2 Nepalis who got the award for the work that I was doing. We went to this very iconic place in Melbourne where we received the award in front of the government of Melbourne, in front of all these big leaders in Australia who now know about our work. A couple of months after that, I was then recognized by AFS Youth Assembly, which is another name that I want you to write down, because this is, again, all opportunities for youth who are doing good for their community. Yes, I see people typing down. So AFS is another youth assembly that you can join and be able to talk about your work, find donors, find partners, find investors. After that, again, I kept consistent with my work. I was growing in Canopy, and I joined this community called Global Shapers. So the World Economic Forum, which is based out of Geneva in Switzerland, has this community called Global Shapers Community. It is based in 550 cities around the world. Look up Global Citizen and your city's name. If there is, and if you fall under the age category, apply. The applications throughout the world has just opened. So this is the perfect opportunity for you to look into that as well. Global Citizen is Global Shapers is what it's called, and your city's name. So I am a member of Global Shaper Kathmandu Hub. So if you're based out of Nairobi, for example, your hub's name would be Global Shapers Nairobi Hub. So please do look that up if it is in your city, and if you fall under that category, apply, because you can then be a part of this global community where you can connect with people all over the world. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was in Sri Lanka for this conference on violent extremism, and I'm just going to quickly write down the name. Right. I was able to see the city through my friends at Global Shapers who showed me around. And they didn't ask anything in return. They spent 6 hours with me so they could show me the beautiful city of Colombo. And vice versa. When people come visit Kathmandu, that's what we do as well. And being a part of this community meant that I was able to talk about my work even more. People in high-level decision-making got to know about the work that Canopy was doing, which was so empowering. And for me as a woman coming from a South Asian country where women aren't even allowed to work up until like 10 years ago, who are married off at the age of 16, who are not even allowed education, to be in this space where I can represent my gender in my community is a very empowering moment. So for all the ladies and the women in this call, I encourage you that you, more than anyone, should be applying to these pieces so you motivate and you inspire more young girls around you to be outgoing to talk about our work and to talk about the work that we do and the impact that we're creating in our community. And similarly, as I was doing my work, I'm very excited to announce that last year I was at One Young World, and Chanel, this luxury brand, recognized my work and flew me to One Young World in Munich, which is where I met Munashe. And this is how we're doing this session. And One Young World is bringing its session in South Africa this November, if I'm not wrong. So, and they are prioritizing a lot of African youths. So again, if you're in this region and if you're working in areas that they have highlighted, you can apply for a scholarship. And once you get in, they will fully pay for your flight, your hotel, your stay. You don't have to spend a single penny, a single money at all. So please do look it up. If you fall under any category, do apply. And it's right there for you guys as well. So it's going to be near, the flights aren't going to be long. Again, it's called One Young World, South Africa, if I'm not wrong, 2026. As I was doing that work, again, we're working here in Nepal, we're working together with the government because we want sustainable impact, we want growth, we want scale. Literally 2 weeks ago, I was recognized by Forbes for being a impact leader as a 30 under 30 in South Asia, which is again another huge acknowledgement, which I'm very, very grateful for. But it also shows the work and persistence, and it's a reflection of all the impact that Canopy has been all the impact that Canopy has been creating over the years as well. And as individuals, as young people who are working in the impact that we're creating and the vision that we have, being in these spaces is very, very important. So the reason I'm telling about all these spaces is not because to brag, but to give you information that there are thousands of spaces where young people can go and speak. Me, myself, I'm coming here and speaking to all of you. And I'm not just saying, but I'm also learning from all of you from this chat that I'm reading as I'm speaking as well. But I really want to encourage you that you should apply to these spaces. But the caveat is going to be that you are probably not going to get in the first year. And it's going to be very disappointing. And you're going to think that you don't deserve this space or that you're not worth it. But let me tell you, again, the first thing that I said here is that consistency and persistence matters. So keep reapplying. All these places that I talked about, only like 2 or 3 I got in my first try. Everything else I had to apply again and again to show that I'm continuing to do this work. And that's how this global space works as well. So I would highly encourage, and I also saw that Munashe texted that, typed that they themselves are sponsoring people to go to One Young World in Cape Town. So if you fall under that category, you know who to reach out to. You're already in this space, so please, please, please do so. So what am I trying to do by telling the story? I'm not just trying to talk about what I did, but can I get a little bit of engagement in the chat now? I'm going to see an emoji, and if you can relate, then please react, or you can also react. I'm not sure if, I think participants can react. So when you first heard my introduction from David, were you able to relate to anything that I said? He said one thing. He said I was the managing director of Canopy Nepal, and I'm from Nepal. He said 2 things. Was there anything that you could relate with me? If yes, give me a thumbs up. If no, give me a laughing emoji. If you could relate with me, a thumbs up. Based on what David said, not from what I said. But if you could not relate with anything I said, I want a laughing emoji. I see 1 laughing emoji, 2, I see 2 thumbs up, 3 laughing emoji, 4, 5, 6, a couple, a very big laughing emoji. Okay, perfect. Now, as I was saying my story about where I come from, how I started this work, all these different spaces, the challenges that I face, the background that I belong from, the gender that I come from, if now you were able to relate with even a single thing I said, I want a thumbs up. If not, I still want a laughing emoji. Okay, I see thumbs ups. I see thumbs ups. I see 1 laughing emoji. I see more thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. You know what I just did in that last 20 minutes that I was speaking? I did storytelling. I told my story about who I am, where I come from, the context that I come from. And because of that, you were able to relate to me. Versus when David introduced me, he gave a title, right? So as individuals, when you go to spaces, when you go to conferences, when you go to meetings, when you go to do presentations in your college, or when you're just meeting a new person, just saying the title that you come from is not enough. because no one can relate. I literally saw one thumbs up when I said if you can relate to me. All the other emojis was laughing emoji. Versus when I asked about the second one, I only saw thumbs ups. And that's because when you tell your story, people find connectivity. And that's how you connect with people. So I asked you to have a pen and a paper at the beginning of the session. It's because I'm going to teach you now how to tell your story, because it is an art that you learn. And through Canopy Nepal, when I said we do storytelling, this is how we teach the kids. They don't learn to tell their own story because they are 12 years old and they rather write stories about robots and horror stories and stories about the space. But us as youth who want to create an impact in the society that we are, and we're here to learn high performance, high productivity, it's not just about being highly productive and having a high performance. It's also having an efficient productivity. It's having an efficient impact. Just because it's a lot does not mean it's always good. So learning how to tell your story in a very strategic manner, in a very structured manner, helps you tell the world who you are, helps people relate to you, helps people know, oh my God, I can connect this person to this person. I can help this person in this way. And that's what we want, right? We want people to look at us and be like, you know what? I know the perfect organization for you. I know the perfect employment for you. I know the perfect space that you should be a part of. Here, I don't know a lot about you, so I was just throwing names so you could look into it. But if I were talking to you one-on-one, I would be able to customize and tell you where you could go. So the way that we're going to do this is everyone bring out your pen and paper. And the next thing that we're going to do is I want all of you to draw. Now, can I just get a thumbs up just to understand if you represent an organization, like if you're a founder of anything, can I get a thumbs up emoji? I just want to understand how many people there are. Okay, I see a few people doing thumbs up in video. But if I can also get a few reactions, that'd be great. Okay, thumbs ups. So as founders of institutions, this activity is going to help you a lot. So when I say a character, I want you to choose either one of the two things. Either choose yourself as the founder or choose your organization, because you can also do a storytelling of your organization. So or you can do both simultaneously. But learn, because as a founder, I understand the importance of being the face of the organization. People trust you as you trust their organization, right? But you can choose whichever you want to do. If you think in your space you matter more than your organization, do you. If you think your organization is up before you, then do the organization. For all the other people, I'm sure you belong or you represent anything at all. Maybe you represent a club in your college. Maybe you represent your own dream, your own passion, right? So just connect yourself to that as we're doing this activity. If you work somewhere and if you're in a managerial position, in a sales position, connect yourself to that. To all the founders, tap into your founder energy, because this activity, I believe, is going to help you a lot. So the first thing I want you to do is draw yourself in the middle of the page. If you're doing your institution, draw the logo. And again, drawing does not matter. I just wanted to be a little bit fun. So if you can just draw yourself or your institution in the middle of the page, and I'm going to be doing this as we talk as well. So it's going to be more fun. And if you have any questions, it's okay. It's okay. Literally just draw or just write your name. If you're so bad at drawing, just write your name or your organization's name. I'm also terrible, but still I am trying. Okay, I drew myself. I hope you guys drew yourselves too, or like wrote your name or whatever. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to mention, oh my God, I see laughing emoji at my drawing. Please don't do that. Anyways, so now we're going to write 5 positive traits of this person, this organization that we created, but it's not going to be personal. So I know, Tuto, you gave me a thumbs up that you are a founder of an organization. You need to write 5 positive traits or unique positive traits of you as the founder, not you as an individual. Let's say you are someone who knows how to play a piano, but if playing a piano is not going to help you be a founder, don't write that. Although it's great, it's not connected to your founder personality, right? So now write 5 unique traits 5 positively unique traits about this individual, this institution, of yourself, but connect it to the role that you're thinking of. If you're a founder, do founder. If you're a manager, do manager. If you're president of a club, do that. I will give us 2 minutes. Just write it like around you. If anyone is done, just give me a thumbs up, but we have 1 more minute. It's tough writing good things about yourself, huh? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, because we need to know what we're good at, so we know what to keep doing. We also need to know what we need to improve in, but both is equally important. Okay, I see 1 thumbs up from Carolina. I see another. David. Maybe 1 more minute. Great. I'm glad a lot of you are doing this. Okay. Next step is that we are now going to add personality to this character, because only having good unique traits is not going to be enough, right? So now how we're going to add personality is, 1, we're going to create a tagline. If you are someone who's representing your organization, you can just write the tagline of the organization. If you're an individual, maybe you can relate to your organization's tagline and write it down. That's the first. Second, you're going to write, where are you going to find this character? Places that you're going to find this character. And the reason I say character is because it's a very specific part of you, right? By places, I mean, are you in meetings? Are you in government offices? Are you in such seminars? Are you in youth groups? Maybe not clubs, but maybe if that's what helps you, maybe you're in clubs, maybe you're in book clubs, maybe you're like, hikes, maybe you are in the UN. Again, just throwing out ideas. Maybe you're in the community. Maybe you're always with the community because you're so community driven. Third, who's this character's friends? By this, I mean partners and collaborators. Who are you working together with? Because impact, like I mentioned earlier, it's not sustainable if you work alone. If you don't have any friends, it's time to make some. So maybe you can think of partners and collaborators to add. And the fourth is, what are the colors associated with this character? This comes to branding, right? As soon as I say white and blue, Head and Shoulders shampoo comes in my head, because that's the colors that they usually use. If I think of pink or golden, Pantene usually comes to my head, or Sunsilk, because they're very like bright. If I think of 4 colors, blue, green, yellow, and red, I think, which I haven't mentioned, Google comes to my head, because those are the 4 colors that they usually use, right? If I think of the color, let me think. Green, like usually soaps come in my head. So again, the colors associated with this character, I've sent it in the text. Don't overthink it. Just, again, it's not like a concrete vision that we're creating right now, right? So just brainstorm what it might be. And if you haven't thought about this, it's very important that you think about this, because to be able to tell your story, you need to know these things about yourself as well. So let's get going. Tagline, places, collaborators, friends, and colors. I think one person is already done. That was very quick. What I mean by places you will find the character in is, I can give my example. As the director of Canopy Nepal, I am found in government offices. I am found in international conferences, donor spaces, embassies, cafes, schools, and my office. That's what I meant. And if you aren't in other spaces, maybe you can write the spaces you would ideally like to be in, like One Young World, for example. I'm also being careful of the time. David, if I'm not wrong, I still have about 20 minutes. You can just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I see you. Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, if you're done, I see so many thumbs up, so I'm hoping these are the people that are done as well. I was thinking maybe I can give an example of what I wrote for the first two prompts, so it gives you a little bit of idea. So for the first trait, which was our 5 traits that are positively unique to me, is that I am a good communicator. I can build connections easily. I am certain about outcomes. I am dedicated and consistent, and I'm funny. And being funny helps when you're leading a team of young people. It helps me connect with my team. And the second section that we had to do, what I've written down is my tagline is I help reshape education. The places that you'll find me is I already mentioned, but let me repeat, it's government offices, international conferences, donor spaces, embassies, cafes, schools, and my office. My friends are government, students, team, donors, and private partners. And the colors I can be associated with, or my character can be associated with, is yellow, red, green, blue, and white. So again, everything that I'm writing in like my shoe as the director of Canopy and nothing else that I've mentioned as well, which is helping me. So now, let's move on to the second section. We've created a character for our story, right? But setting the character is not just enough, because what we've done is just given a title to this person and a little bit of background. But what I did in that first half an hour was I told a story. I told a story in a setting, and I did it through a story arc. So we're now going to be creating this character story arc. And the way that we do it is now we create setting. Where is this character based? What do they see? What do they accomplish? And what embarrasses this character? Let's write that, right? As the founder, where are you? What is your work? Don't write too much on that because we are coming to it. But what do you see? What does this character see in a day-to-day basis? What does this character want to accomplish? What's your big dream? And what is this character embarrassed of? Like, if you as the founder, or if your institution, or you as the president were seen doing this, you're like, that is something that I do not want to do. For that, let's take another 3 minutes. So it's 8:11 in my clock. We're going to do it, stop at 8:13, 14. 2 more minutes. Thirty seconds. Okay, time's up. So we just talked about the setting. To quickly give my answer, oops. Yeah, quickly give my answer, the setting that I mentioned a little bit is that I'm in Nepal. I am in a country where there is rapid migration, and that is creating a problem in education sector where the character is working. This character wishes to accomplish that there is no dropout rates of students in Nepal, and that the government is supporting this program instead of the nonprofit running it independently. And what the character is embarrassed of doing is forgetting about the children that we're working for when we're growing. So now that we've created the character and the setting, let's now create the rest of the arc. When I was first telling my story, I talked about why Canopy exists and the problems that we're solving and why it is important in the context. If I had not explained all that, all of you would not have understood why Canopy was needed, because not all of you don't come from the region that I come in, right? And vice versa. If you don't give me context, I'm not going to understand why you do what you do. And it's the same for no matter where you go in the world. Even people that I meet in Nepal, I still have to tell them the same story because they don't know what's going on in the education space. So that is called a problem statement. And we're now going to be adding that to our story. What we're going to now write about is one, the problem statement, what it is that we're trying to solve. And yeah, just what it is that we're trying to solve in a statement sort of way. But again, this answer does not have to be concrete. So for now, you can write bullets, but you can go back with your team, do this activity to kind of polish it a little bit. So what it is that you're trying to solve. For this, I would like to give another 3 minutes. And once you're done, you can just react thumbs up so I know. I am seeing the thumbs up come in, and I think our time is also up. Now, as you're creating this problem, you've created a character, you've created the setting, now you've written the statement, problem statement, right? Now let's write about how do we solve this? Again, how are you, the character that you've created, solving this problem? And what is the ideal goal? What it is that you're trying to see? These two things for another 3 minutes, please. I see thumbs up coming in. We have 1 more minute. Okay. Perfect. Time's up. It's okay if you were not able to answer all the questions completely because this is just a start, right? This story is what is now going to help you tell the world what you do, why you do it, and who you are. But the most important thing when you're telling the story is that you connect it to you. It is important that you make it personal, right? Because if you remember, when I first started speaking, I first talked about myself. I talked about my childhood. I talked about how I got into the space. Then I talked about the problem of education. Then I introduced my organization. I could have simply missed out my own story and it would still have maybe created the same impact. But I believe it would not have, because then you would not be able to relate to me. And for us humans, stories is what binds us through and through. If you look at any religion, if you go to any culture, if you go to any community, stories are the ones that brings the community together. I remember when I was in school, I did this activity called Coffee House, where my teacher back then told me that it was a tradition that was inspired from the African community. I'm not too sure exactly which, but basically all of us wrote poems and all of us sat together and we recited our poems in a group. And when we were doing that, we had to talk about ourselves as well. But being there in that group, telling your story is what brought us together, right? So telling your story brings people together. It brings people to you and it helps them understand what you're doing, how you're doing it. So if you are a founder, if you're a leader, if you're anyone who introduces yourself only as your work, add yourself to it, which is why the first activity we did was making that character. It's important that you know what your character is, who you are, what you do, why you do what you do, and then connect it to the institution that you're associated with. So that is very, very important. And I saw that, my video is lagging, but I think I'm back now. I saw that Munashe had replied to one of the texts about how to apply to One Young World. They are assessing your activeness in this leadership series. And for the ones who do get in, and once you're in One Young World, you're going to meet literally 2,000 people. And they're going to want to hear your story, and you're going to want to hear their stories. So remember this activity when you go there. Remember this activity the next time you meet someone who's interested in you. Remember, even when you're walking or if you're in public transport, and if anyone asks, what do? Tell your story in this way, because that's how people can relate to you. And it's very important that they connect to you. So now what I want you to do after you're done with the session is, because I only had an hour, and this is like a skill that you learn over time as well, is that create different versions of this now. Create a version of an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is literally a 30-second introduction of yourself. Even in 30 seconds, you need to be able to tell the story. Create a 5-minute version. Create a 2-minute version. Create a version where you can write it in grants. Create a version where you can show it in PowerPoint presentations. Create a version that can be posted in your LinkedIn. Create a version that other people can tell about you as well, right? So it's very important that you take this base story and now create different versions of it. Because obviously when I'm introducing myself to people, I gave my introduction across 20 minutes when I was speaking to you guys. But obviously I can't do that in every space that I go. So I have a shorter version for when I'm giving like a quick introduction. So it's very important that you do the same, and go reflect on what you've written and now write a script. What really helps is having an actual script, because the first time that you're going to do it, you're not going to remember what you said, or you're going to fumble, or you're going to be stuck. Versus if you have a script and you just rely on that a little bit, it's really going to help you polish it. And over time, you're going to be a natural at it. But when you're first starting out, that's what I did too. I had a script that I had like written down, and that was something that I used everywhere. And anytime I went to a meeting, it was in my like phone's notes app. So I just like quickly read it. Okay, say this first, say this second, say this third. And that's how I did it. Like this comes with like I mentioned earlier, like 8 years of doing this, I'm able to do it. And still I needed to prepare myself for this session, because preparation never ends. So it's very important that you remember to stay humble. You know that saying, feet on ground, head in clouds? That's exactly what we need to be doing. We need to stay humble, but our dream needs to be big. And we need to be able to converse that through the story that we say and the character that we create for ourselves. So having said that, I've come to the end of my session. Just final concluding note is, to be able to be a highly productive, highly successful, high performance individual, it's important that you're efficient, and it's important that you know who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing, how you're doing it. And it's even more important for other people to know all of that. So it's important to tell your story. We are young. We are truly the future. I know it sounds very cliche when I say it, but we are. There is no denying that. So it's important that we use our voice to tell the world what they need to hear. But sometimes we might think that what we're talking about is the most important thing, but others might not relate, which is why you need to tell your why, the problem statement, the character, right? How many people here work in education? Can I just get whatever reaction? Any form of education, formal, informal, if you work in the sector of education. I see one. Okay, so out of 278 people in this call, only one person works in education. But now can I get another round of thumbs ups, or one or two I'm seeing now? Can I get another round of thumbs up of all the people who now understand the context of education in Nepal and understand what we're doing in Nepal? Right. So other than one person, none of you knew, or none of you maybe even thought about that education is a sector that needs to be considered. But because I was able to tell the story, tell the why, show the problem, show my history, you now know why it matters and why it makes sense. It's the same when you go. You might work in health. I don't. So if you tell me drinking water is a problem, I might hear you, but I might not understand why it's such a grave problem. You need to be able to tell that. Tell people your story, tell people your why, and be efficient when you do it, and create different versions of what we just did. And all the names, all the institutions that I mentioned, please do really, really look in it. And if you have any questions, if you have any follow-up questions, or if you want to learn how to apply to these pieces, you know my name. You can find me in LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to connect. And yeah, thank you so much to David and Munashe for giving me the space. Thank you so much to all you 280 people in this call for sitting down with me for an hour and just learning about me. And I really, really hope that you took something out of this. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. That was amazing. Can I get fire emojis in the chat, please? Can I get fire emojis? Can I get hearts? Run the chat up. That was beautiful. Throughout the session, there is something that really stuck with me, which is for you to be able to tell your story, you need to introspect and know who you are, first of all. And I believe, I might be mistaken, but I believe a lot of people struggled with this because they've never had that opportunity to really sit down and then question themselves on who am I, right? And what do I want to do? And that had me questioning myself so much because I was scribbling things, I was rewriting and so forth, trying to think, who am I, right? So I'm really happy. I hope a lot of people in the meeting got to really think about themselves. And please don't stop here. Let's go back. We redo this thing over and over again. And another thing that stuck with me was, again, when you mentioned, when I introduced you as the managing director, I could not relate at all. And then you gave us your story, and then I could relate. So it made me realize that sometimes a lot of people that we look up to people and like their positions and their titles. We don't understand where they started. Because we've never heard their story. We've never heard their story. So when I heard you go through your story, I was like, wow, I also want to leave. I also want to, you told about Nepal, the high migration rate. I know a lot of students also want to leave Zimbabwe and go elsewhere. You mentioned how you struggled even with the CVs as well. So all that, it made me realize that, okay, I can also get to that position, and it's bridged the gap between what I want to achieve versus where I am right now. I do have one question for you, ma'am, on the issue that a lot of people, the high migration rates in Nepal, right? What then motivated you to stay? And because a lot of people are contemplating, just dipping. So I want to know what motivated you. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for your reflection, David. And I think you took perfectly what I was trying to convey in the last hour. To answer your question, it was, well, to be honest, it was the fact that all the universities that I applied to, I didn't get any scholarship and I wasn't in a position to pay and go. So it was either choosing to take a gap year or continue my education in Nepal. So that was one reason. And the other reason was once I started working, and you know that feeling when you go to these spaces and you realize, oh my God, the work that I'm doing is like literally it impacted one person. And I think I really enjoyed that feeling. And not in a way that I wanted to like help people all the time, but it was like, if I'm in a position where I'm privileged enough to create an impact in someone's life who needed that impact, I want to be able to continue doing it. So that's like, those are the two reasons. One was that where I was trying to go was not making sense. And the second was the feeling that I felt, and it was a lot of effort. Oh my God. I'm sure you guys can relate. Like when you're a volunteer, when you're just trying to, you know nothing when you go to the field. You say all the wrong things. You wear the wrong clothes. You're talking to the wrong people. People underestimate you. I started when I was 18. People still tell me that I look like a kid. Back then, no one even looked at me twice. They just thought I was like one of the students. So it was so difficult. But despite that difficulty, when I felt that even one child was feeling something positive with the work that we were doing through Canopy, it made me feel like, you know what, maybe I should stick around. Oh, David, I think you are muted.
Sorry, my apologies. I was saying thank you so much, ma'am. I see Pastor Menashe. Kindly unmute yourself. He also has a question for you, I believe.
Yeah, Thank you very much, Monal. I mean, this session was amazing, and it's what we needed as leaders. I just wanted to talk on the one young world as opportunity that we have because we had not yet shared with everyone here. We are going to be sponsoring quite a number of people from this platform, and just to clarify, we are going to do our own selection of the people that we think will represent us well. And these people are they're going to, learn things that they can actually use. So how we are doing our own selection is we are going to be looking, of course, at attendance. I mean, today we had about 278 gadgets connected, and you guys connecting 3s and 4s and 15s, 20s. So I think we had about 874 people minimum connected on the platform, as some are connected in groups. So we want to see that participation going. So we are looking at attendance to Young and Dynamic. That's what we are looking at. And then we are also looking at the projects that you are doing in your different spaces. We have community projects, community engagements, projects that are happening in your universities. So if you're participating in those in Young and Dynamic, working together, if you're serving as a Young and Dynamic host, if you're serving as a Young and Dynamic tech person, or wherever you are placed, we're going to be looking at all of those things. And then when we have selected you, you then do an application to One Young World. And we have already had a discussion with them. So their selection criteria is almost like ours. So once you make it through us, you are certainly going to make it through their application. And then on the second, we're going to be leaving Lesotho to those who are in Lesotho, to those who are in Zambia, like Tuto. You'll be leaving Zambia to those who are in Burundi. Like Emmy and the friends, you'll be leaving Burundi, and then we make our way to Cape Town. So I thought maybe I should just highlight that so that you all know what the selection criteria is. So be present, be here, show that you are here so that we can also consider you. I just thought I should mention that, David, so that people stop wondering how are we doing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Nashi. That is exciting. That is exciting. Tuto, I know I saw you go crazy for the Chanel. Perhaps this is something we could, consider if yes. Thank you so much, ma'am Batarai. Thank you so much, Pastor Jwarima. And this does take us to the end of our session. It was so exciting, so inclusive. We got to communicate with you. We got to draw things. I'm not sure about the quality of the drawing, Pastor Nashe, and but I hope we drew ourselves well. I will not comment on mine. But yes, so for our announcements, next week we meet again. Next week, I hope we meet Ma'am Batarai some other day again. And again, you saw her name. You can communicate with her on LinkedIn. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some of the details that I'll share with you guys. And you can communicate and keep in touch. So we meet again, same time, same place. Let's also not forget the global intercessors. We are there 24/7. Okay, please come join us at any time that you're free. Join the prayer. Let us all worship and pray for the best for everybody here, our nation, our students, our parents. Until we meet again, I believe this ends our session. Enjoy your weekend, people.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Hello.